Hello everyone, you are watching Travel Massive Live. My name is Maria Stoyanova. In today's live event, we have invited 3 founders to do a demo of their products and services and to tell us the story behind them, what lessons they learned along the way, how they grown their businesses, and what they can share with us and with other founders that are interested to hear the story. We have today 3 speakers. As I mentioned, we have Yasmin, we have Sania, and Naor joining us from all over the world. So if you're watching us live at the moment, please tell us where are you joining from. So we are very curious to see how far we have spread the word about this live event today. We are streaming live on Travel Massive platform, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Feel free to use the channel that is most convenient to you. One thing I want to tell before we start with the 3 presentations. I already see some people joining from Canada, Tasmania, UK. That's awesome. Tokyo, wow. Hello, everyone. Before we start with the 3 presentations and I bring the first speaker today, I want to say a big thank you to the people who donated to this event. Every support helps us to keep the community running and let us create more of these online events to share knowledge and ideas and basically to learn from each other, which is the mission of Travel Massive. If you also want to do a donation of this event, you can see the button just below the video on the Travel Massive platform. And also after the live stream is over, you will see a blue button on the event page. So if you're interested in that, feel free to do so. All right. Let's get started. I will bring our first speaker today, Yasmin. So just to tell you a little bit of how this event will go, we will have the 3 speakers showing their, telling us their story. If anyone who is watching us live has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box or on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you are watching. And we are going to have a live Q&A session at the end of this, the 3 presentations. Hello, Yasmin.
Hi.
Feel free to introduce yourself and start with your presentations, and then we'll be back after that.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Yasmin Gray. I'm the founder of GetAboutAble. We are a social enterprise focused on empowering people with disability to participate in travel and leisure, and also to help educate the travel and leisure sector, help the travel and leisure sector be more inclusive to people with disabilities. A bit about my background. I am a lifelong avid traveler, including 20 years of travel with a disability. And in terms of a startup in the travel industry, that was something very new to me in, I guess, older age. And I wasn't involved in the industry at all, except as a consumer traveling for both business and leisure. How and why I started the startup? Well, people with disability find it really, really hard to travel, but often surprisingly for the rest of the population, it's not mostly because of a lack of infrastructure. It's actually mostly because of a lack of information. And I started GetAboutAble to address that. I have a passion and ongoing desire to travel. And so I found it more and more frustrating that I couldn't find the information I needed to be able to travel. I guess going into what GetAboutAble looks like. So our major tool is the GetAboutAble.com platform. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so this is the platform. Basically, we have we probably got close to 2,500 listings now of accessible and inclusive things to do, places to go. And so I know that we don't have much time, so I'll go very quickly about some of our major facets. Like a lot of travel websites, you can search. And so, for instance, do a search for accommodation in my local area. And then you'll get, there are 39, I happen to know off the top of my head, there are 39 different accessible accommodation in my city. And for instance, if you go to one of them, and this is actually one of our customers. So I should have said earlier, we are a B2B2C business. So that means we sell to other businesses who then sell to customers. So we are an advertising platform essentially for businesses to say, hey, I'm accessible, come and stay with me. So as you can see here, it's 5-star accommodation in a wildlife lodge. It's actually in the middle of a zoo. And these, the glass walls of the rooms are actually directly on the animal enclosures. So in the description, we give all the accessibility information for mobility, vision, hearing, and other access needs. Okay, so if we go back to the website, sorry, it wasn't supposed to do that. Okay, so another thing that I wanted to talk about is how we rely on crowdsourced information. So all of the information on our website is the result of tip-offs. And we have two major categories of tip-offs. Actually three, from businesses, from individuals, and from various influencers. So we've entered into a number of partnerships, and we call them our contributors. So if you, for instance, these are just a few of our contributors. And what we do is we take the information that so this is in partnerships, it's in full agreement. We take their information and we mine, for instance, a blog, and we find various mentions of various businesses, and we list those. And in exchange, each of those listings, for instance, will link back to the bloggers. So it's a way of promoting the influencer and their blogs, while at the same time getting information to add to our database. So essentially the database then makes individual blogs searchable. We also have a Facebook group, which is quite active, and so various people post when they know of accessible travel and leisure activities. And if anybody wanted to join that group, it's facebook.com/groups/GetAboutAble. Okay, so I mentioned at the start that we are a social enterprise. So we operate for a sustainable purpose, not for profit. But that does mean that we still aim to sustain and grow our business, and therefore we have to generate income in some way. And so we do that by, as I mentioned earlier, selling to businesses that list on our platform. And so these are our listing packages. As you can see, we have very low fees. And again, the reason for that is that we aim to be sustainable. But we are focused on pursuing our purpose. The other thing I wanted to show was our accessible travel marketplace. So just below our banner photo, you can visit the accessible travel marketplace. And this is something that we've just launched in the last month in a partnership with Yuli, a business, You Live to Travel, that is a booking management platform. And so what we do is we provide a marketplace for tour operators that provide accessible and inclusive tours and experiences to list to the community of people who need those services. And you can see here that we've got different providers. So again, we've just launched, so fairly limited, but if anybody out there is a tour operator that provides accessible or inclusive services, please contact me because we'd love to list you on this new marketplace. Okay, so I was asked to talk about, and sorry, Maria, you can probably stop sharing now. So I was asked to comment on what I wish I knew before starting the business. The biggest thing is how to be an entrepreneur. I had a career in academia and the public service. I was not involved in the business world at all. I had no idea about accelerator programs or angel investors or venture capital, all of which I've had to learn very, very quickly. So that's probably my biggest thing for anybody thinking of joining a startup, is get your head around those concepts. And how do I find clients and partners? It's our first clients were, so the first businesses that advertised on GetAboutAble were people who got it. They understood the challenges and frustrations of people with disability, very often because they knew they had family and friends who had experienced those frustrations. But what we've been doing for the past year is trying to break into the mainstream accessible tourism market, because accessible tourism is a huge business. When you think about it, 20% of the population has some form of disability. 1 in 3 households contain somebody who has a disability. It's a huge untapped market. And these people are able to be part of that tourism recovery, if only the businesses cater to their needs. So we hope to be part of that journey. And in terms of tips for other startup founders, follow your passion, trust your gut, and don't ever be afraid to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasmin. Thank you so much for showing, how your product works. Basically, we already have a question in the chat, but we are going to get back to it at the end of the 3 presentations. I just want to say hi to Rick, who's joining us from Bangkok, and then we also have Sam, who's joining us from Lagos. Welcome, everyone. And once again, I know that there is not enough time to share everything in this 10 minutes, but we just want to give an idea about your product and your service, what you're looking for, and how other people can connect with you as well. So if anyone wants to get in touch with Yasmin, you can do so on Travel Massive. I shared the links in the chat box. Thank you once again, Yasmin. We'll bring you back at the end of the presentations. And now let's welcome Sania. Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Maria.
Of course, it's quite early where you are. I think you're joining from New York, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Well, thank you for getting up quite early for this show. Feel free to introduce yourself and start your screen sharing, and then I'll be back after your demo.
Sounds good. Yeah, so I am the CEO and co-founder of Pilota, where we use artificial intelligence, machine learning, and big data to keep travelers safe from travel risks. And so just want to start with how we started the company. Myself and my three co-founders, we actually met in graduate school at Cornell. I was getting my MBA and they were getting their Master's of Computer Science. And we all met in a machine learning class where we decided to do a research project to see if we could use machine learning techniques to predict flights at risk of being delayed or canceled. And so we ran a small proof of concept to validate the accuracy of using algorithms to predict this. And then when we saw that it was possible, we wanted to see what the commercialization opportunity was. And so we actually built a platform that was facing corporate travelers, travel management companies, travel managers, that allowed them to predict what flights were at risk of being delayed or canceled. And so we built out that platform. We have customers using it right now. And then when the COVID crisis hit, we wanted to see how we could use our data to adapt to some of the problems that travelers were having now. And so we started to understand what the consumer sentiment was, what people were worried about, and we actually launched a new product called Flysafe. And Flysafe is actually a Chrome extension that allows users to analyze their itineraries and flights based on the health and safety factors that they care most about. So it might be easier if I just share my screen and show you guys a demo of how it works. So the way it works is if you go to our website, www.flypilota.com, we have a link right here to add our Chrome extension to your Chrome browser. So once it's added, the extension actually lives up here. And then whenever you go to Google Flights, and let's say you just type in a trip as you normally would, we still will see all the same search results here. But what we do with Flysafe is we actually enhance your search results with these 5-star ratings. And so these 5-star ratings are actually calculated based on the health and safety factors that you've told us that you care about. So up here in the menu, we see that I've pre-selected these 6 measures. So I'm saying that I care most about air filtration, like the plane having HEPA filters, the capacity capping, being provided PPE, having seat blocking, sanitization of the flight, as well as this flight having flexible policies so I can change my flight as needed. By default, all of these measures are pre-selected, but if I wanted to, I could go in and delete and add in the measures. Then the ratings are calculated accordingly. So for example, this specific flight here only has 2 out of 6 of the measures, while this Delta flight has all 6 of the measures here. And we see that this is done for each of these flights. So this flight here only has 3 out of 6 of the measures, while this flight here has 4 out of 6 of the measures. And so with this, users are able to easily compare their flights with all the relevant information that they typically would need about the flight journey, as well as with the new health and safety information that we're providing here. And so, for example, if the user is really interested in booking this Delta flight and wants to learn more, they can just click on these 3 dots here, and a new tab will open where we show them all the details that they might need to know. So we show them more measures. So we add in things like the food hygiene on the flight, whether social distancing is being implemented, and more. We also bring in our own machine learning predictions. So for example, we're able to show them what we believe the maximum number of seats filled on that flight would be, as well as what we estimate the foot traffic at the origin and destination terminal to look like. So the user can decide and make sure that they're going at a time where things won't be too crowded. We also show the cancellation rate of this given flight because there have been a lot of scheduling issues lately, and that's something we found that users care most about. Along with these features, we also allow users the ability to save flights. So for example, I've saved this Delta flight here just by clicking on this heart. And so the reason we do this is because we know that a lot of people are now strongly going through a longer consideration process. So while I do like this flight, I may not want to book today, but I can always favorite this flight and find it up here in this menu bar. So tomorrow, if I'd like to book this flight, all I have to do is click on this, and the same search results list will open back up with the favorited icon so I know which flights I've liked. Along with this, we have a new chatbot feature launching soon that will live down here and will allow users to ask questions like, what was the last known number of COVID cases at my destination? So in this case, that would be Fort Lauderdale. Will I need to quarantine when I get there? Will I need to quarantine when I get home? What kinds of flexible policies are being offered on my flight? And more. Along with this information, so hopefully this is helpful to you guys, and the Chrome extension is totally free, so feel free to download that. You can just go to our website and check that out. And it requires only just a few seconds to be added to your browser. We also, because we are sitting on so much data, we decided to create a COVID dashboard. So on our website, we have a section called COVID-19. And here, we just show users some interesting statistics that they might be interested in. And so, for example, we tell them how many flights are currently in the air, what was the last change in the scheduled flights, what are the current flight change policies of each of these airlines, what are the most popular US travel destinations this week, what are the busiest routes this week. We also give them quick links to learn more about safety as well as these airlines. So that is a quick demonstration of our product Flysafe. I also just wanted to share a little bit more about some tips. And so I know people were interested in learning about how we find clients and partners. So for us, we do a lot of different experimentation. So we've run Facebook ads before, we've done some LinkedIn marketing before. I think the most important thing in the travel industry is really just staying connected to every person that you meet, whether they're a startup, whether they're executive, whether they're someone in between. What we found over this last year is this industry is small and you run into people over and over again. And so if you're interested in starting a travel business, I would say the number one thing is attending events, networking, and staying connected to those people, even if you've only met them once. And my tips for other startup founders, I would say, is just make sure to really do your research about your target audience, what they care about before you build. I think with travel, people always have their own preferences and people have their own way of doing things. And so the more you can learn about what the user's processes are, what they care about, what their pain points are, and how you can use your product to solve it, the better your product will be. The biggest tip is don't build before you do your research, because most likely whatever you build will need to change based on the research you do. So it's better to just do all of your research up front, learn as much as you can about the problem and how your solution fits in before you start building. And I know I don't have too much time to share too many tips, but I'm more than happy to speak to anyone who'd like to learn more. You can feel free to add me on Travel Massive and LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to chat more. And so, yeah, that's it from me. Maria, feel free to take over.
Thank you, Sania. That was very interesting as well. We already have a few questions for you in the chat box from Julian, from Ian, and also a few people are sharing that Flysafe is an amazing idea for the current times and what a great initiative for today's needs. So we're happy to see this feedback as well. I just wanted to tell the live audience as well that Sania is also part of our list of 100 inspired women travel founders. So that was released earlier this year, I think, right before the pandemic started. So once again, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Awesome. So I will put you backstage and then I will bring Naor with us. Hello, welcome, and good morning to you too.
Good morning, guys. And good afternoon to some of you.
Yes, tell us, where are you joining us from?
I'm joining you guys from Miami, Florida.
And it is around 8 a.m.?
Yep, same time as New York.
Thank you to you as well for joining us that early. Feel free to start with your presentation and let me know when you want me to play the video that we prepared earlier.
Sure, will do. So hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Naor Amir. I am co-founder and the tech lead of CityGuyd. And CityGuyd, what we do is we're a new smartphone travel app that basically augments real-life tour guides on the grounds of tourist attractions across the globe. And I know that's kind of hard to understand, but we'll see a little bit later a demo of what we're doing. But first, I thought I'd give you guys a quick kind of idea about who we are and how we got into this kind of into the travel business here. So I'll share my screen really briefly to show you guys just a quick PowerPoint here of our team. And I hope you guys can see this. But again, my name is Naor Amir. I am founder and the tech lead at CityGuyd. Basically, my background is I'm a AR, VR prototype engineer. So, those really weird glasses that you've seen people wear at arcades and the like. I've helped build the world's future augmented reality tech classes at companies like Magic Leap and Facebook AR. So that's kind of the experience I came from, and always been a lifelong traveler. And that's kind of how we got involved here. And then my co-founder is Pauline Fetter. She's a travel industry professional with over 20 years experience in the industry. And then we also have a team of developers, which we called MLX Labs. And it's also consisted of engineers who are cutting edge and have been really influential working on some of the virtual and augmented reality glasses technology. So how we got into the business? Well, basically, like I said, we're a team of travel professionals and AR engineers who just happen to love both concepts. And the idea really developed on a trip abroad. I woke up really early one morning to hike up to an ancient fortress mountain, and you can see it here, with some friends. And when we got up, we were catching the sunrise. And when we got up there was no one around. It was completely empty. There were no tour guides to tell us about what we were looking at or any information really. And it just really kind of popped into my head. And I said to myself, why isn't there an app similar to Pokemon Go where you could hold out your phone and then through your phone camera screen, a tour guide pops up on the ground to tell you about what it is you're looking at and the structures you're seeing. So we got to work. And basically that's how we got involved into this concept, right? So me handling the tech and AR side of things, and my co-founder Pauline handling the travel business aspect of it. So we're going to show you a quick live demo. It's not our app, and our concept is kind of meant to be used through the phone. So it's not really the best situated for a video conference like this. So we went out and actually pre-recorded a video for you guys right here locally in Miami on site. So you can get an idea of what the app is supposed to do when you're traveling abroad. And so just to set it up, imagine you're a new traveler to the city of Miami. You land at the airport. You have our app downloaded. Basically, it sends you a notification saying, hey, we monitor your GPS signals, and you've just arrived in Miami airport. So welcome to Miami. Here's a tour guide who's going to give you the basic things you need to know about the city, and they'll list for you some of the top attractions. And one of those top attractions here in Miami is the Wynwood Art Deco area. And one of the top attractions there specifically is the Wynwood Walls, and that's kind of where we will do our live demo here. And you guys are going to see it now. So if you can play the video for them so they could see our live demo.
So as you guys can see, we got a pop-up from our CityGuyd app that tells us, hey, you are approaching the Wynwood Walls. Would you like to get some more information? And then you can click, yeah, some details. And it'll give you a quick text overview of the attraction. And then this is the exciting part. You can go into guide mode. Basically, that'll open up your phone camera. And then after a quick kind of scan of the ground area, it'll let you place a guide.
Bienvenidos a Miami Viajeros. Welcome to the Wynwood Walls, a beautiful artsy attraction located in the Wynwood neighborhood of Miami, also known as the Museum of the Streets. As a tourist visiting the area, you should know a little something about how Wynwood.
So then our tour guides pop up and
they'll
tell you everything you need to know about the attraction.
The famous community placemaker and revitalizer, was known for his
take a
penchant
photo
for
with
street
her.
art and graffiti. art forms he believed had been underrepresented historically. Hence, it wasn't surprising when he carved the Wynwood Walls out of the old rundown warehouse buildings located in the Wynwood district of Miami. In 2009, he aimed and eventually succeeded in making this area a cultural hub where tourists such as yourself come to see the outdoor street art that can often rival the beauty of high art displayed in museums. In 2010, Wynwood doors were opened as a street art complement to the conventional portrait galleries, and the murals on the walls outside were later expanded. Some of the celebrated international and American artists who have made a path-breaking statement with respect to the importance of graffiti art are Lady Pink, Ryan McGinnis, Swoon, Celios Fakatis, and many more. Many of the styles you see around you are inspired by these great trailblazing artists. As a traveler visiting this must-see tourist destination, you will be able to appreciate the diverse art forms of more than 50 graffiti artists representing 16 countries. Media outlets such as Vanity Fair, New York Times, and Forbes have hailed the art district as one of the hippest neighborhoods of America. Who are we to argue? In case you are not availing the official tour, there are, however, some tips you should keep in mind while visiting the Wynwood Walls. We suggest the following to make the most of your day of exploration. The time crunch. There are over 200 murals in Wynwood Walls, so it's always advisable to plan your trip ahead, especially if you are in the mood for snapping.
If you're a big fan of art and love to get inspiration from various artists, then Wynwood Walls is a must-visit place. CityGuyd is going to help you stroll through the neighborhood so that you can get close to the art and relate to every main piece on a personal level. The wall is quite massive, and it offers visitors a huge collection of all forms of street art. Visitors can frequently see vibrant colors, diverse styles, and thought-provoking themes. These walls showcase the work of more than 50 artists.
So there you got to see kind of how we would use it live in action at the Wynwood area of Miami. And you saw some photos that we were able to take with our guides in front of the mural pieces. And I think there's just, a lot of fun that you could have with these applications, and especially as you take photos and upload to social media. So that's kind of basically the idea of what we're doing at CityGuyd. We're running low on time, so I'm going to just kind of show you guys where you can get some more information real quick. And you can do that primarily by going to our website, CityGuyd, CityGuydApp.com. And here you can find some links, some of the demos that we've done on stage at tech conferences, our promotional video where we actually show travelers at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., where we actually have our tour guide dressed up as Abraham Lincoln and not just a normal tour guide. And that brings up a really cool a concept that we should speak about, right? And that is that anyone could really be your tour guide. So you're not limited to just someone that you know or book in advance. It could also be someone famous, and that's a really fun part about CityGuyd. Imagine landing in Miami and having Pitbull or someone representative of the area kind of welcoming you to the place. So you can find out more information there. A couple things to end on will be a shameless plug that we'll put in here, and that's basically that we're always on the lookout for tour guides and great content creators. So if you know someone who's a good tour guide, you've used someone that you like, and they might be interested in making some extra passive income for digital content, let us know. Get in touch with us. You can email us at info@cityguydapp.com. We're always looking for new people. And then I'll end with just a couple quick tips. And one that is, as a travel and a new entrepreneur and a new person in the travel business, I think really joining an accelerator program. We're currently part of the Mass Challenge program out in Texas. So useful, and they provide you so many resources when it comes to finding partnerships, when it comes to getting mentors. And I think that's such a huge one that we didn't know early on, is find yourself a really good team of mentors who have done this before, who can really guide you through the whole process. It's so important, and it opens up so many different doors. And take advantage of groups like Travel Massive and Focusrite and the rest. That really opens a lot of possibilities. So that's it for us, guys. And if you'd like to get any more information, again, just go to our website and feel free to get in touch with us.
Thank you as well, Naor. We have a few questions in the chat box. Now I will bring everyone on screen. So Yasmin and Sania, welcome. Yasmin, if you can turn on your camera, that will be great. I think we can start with the questions from the live audience. We do have quite a few already. So Yasmin, we have a question for you from Alberto. Is the platform in English only? And I would add, do you plan to expand it?
At the moment, it is only in English, but yes, we very much want to expand it. Of our contributors, we already have contributors whose native languages and home countries. So for native languages in Spanish, Italian, French, Dutch, and Japanese. So yes, we certainly have the capacity, and what we found is Google Translate is not a great way of translating, but it is certainly a very rapid start. And so if you get a native speaker with Google Translate, we can get quite a bit done very quickly. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Alberto. I think that answers your question. We do have a few for Sania in Pilota. The first one from Julian. What is the source of the data for the flights? And how reliable is this data if it comes from airlines, given the reports of procedures not being followed on the ground?
Yeah, so we update the data every 48 hours just to maintain accuracy. We do get them from the airlines, but I definitely hear your concern about how do we know what's happening on the ground versus what the airlines are doing. So we're actually also in the process of including a feedback loop in the product. So that way we can start to get crowdsourced information as well about what's going on with the flights and integrate that into our platform.
Is Flysafe US only?
Yeah, so right now we have every US domestic flight. We also started to include some flights that either or originate or depart in the United States, depending on where we see users pop up. So for example, we've been seeing a lot of users pop up in Canada, and so we've started to include some of the Canadian airlines as well. And so as we see users pop up, we're now starting to add in more airlines, but right now we focus on the US domestic space.
Great. Ian is asking, what interesting trends have you discovered with your data that surprised you? Was there, any difference to the norm?
I think what's interesting is how often these change. I think that from the point that someone books a flight to when they're actually going to take it, chances are that something has changed about these measures. I thought that now and moving forward, only more measures would be added, but we are seeing people start to experiment with removing some of the measures and seeing that if people really care about having all of them. And so I think one thing that surprised me is that there isn't really consistency, especially even within an airline, there's inconsistency.
Thank you. How do you monetize your platform? Is asking Raul.
Yeah, so the Chrome extension is completely free, but the way we monetize it is by having our APIs available for business use. So if anyone does want to use our APIs on their own booking platforms for their own travel services for their own users, we actually offer those APIs for a small cost.
And one last question for you so far. Does Pilota only work with the Google Chrome extension?
So we have it on the Google Chrome extension. That's our primary channel. However, if people want to look up their flight and they don't have Google Chrome or they're not on their computer, you can actually go to our website and just click on the Try It Now button and just enter in your flight information or your origin destination, and we'll show you all of the search results and the information.
Thank you, Sania. If anyone has any other questions, you can also connect with her on Travel Massive. We do have a few questions for Naor right now. So first one from Julian, what determines which guide do you get? And have you considered having specific information based on the murals you're looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. So what determines the guide that you get is basically a combination of the GPS location right? So we monitor your GPS signal so that if you're in Miami, Florida, we're not playing you a tour guide that's supposed to be for, France or whatever it might be. So that's number one. And two, we place them in different spots. So we give really the user the choice to choose which tour guide experience you want. So like in Wynwood, we have a couple. And to your point, yes, we have some that are specific to the mural, right? So if you go in and you click that video and then place that tour guide in front of the mural, they'll explain to you the actual history behind the specific piece of art. And then you can listen and take photos and the like.
Another question from Hannah is, I think we touched on that a little bit, but is it only available in America, and does it require a 4G network?
Great question. Network. Yeah. So listen, I'm a traveler myself. So the first thing that I thought about when I thought of this idea is, what do people who are abroad and don't have connection to a data network or signal are going to do? So we built in from the very beginning an option to pre-download the tour guide videos to your phone, so that when you're abroad, you don't have to use data network or data connectivity. So then that's always stored on your phone, and then we just pull it out of memory. And then as to being only available in the US, no, it's actually not only available in the US. We do have multiple international cities, and we're always adding more. Right now, I think we're in Lisbon, Portugal. We're in Jerusalem. I think we're in Paris, France, London, and a couple others that are coming up real soon here. So we're always adding more content and trying to expand.
Do the guides in those other areas speak the local language, or they speak only in English?
For right now, it's only English. Obviously, one of the big use cases that our app it allows people who don't speak English to have a native kind of conversation in their own language. So that's something that we're really focused on. Right now, the only translations we have are in Spanish in Florida, because there's a big Spanish-speaking community here. But the idea is that eventually, once we have English, we'll have some subtitles, and then eventually we'll move to native tour guides that will, be speaking in the native language.
Awesome. Can you talk a little bit about how do you accumulate the content on your app, and are the virtual guides someone who are real guides, or just presenters that are reading a predefined text? This is a question from Rahul in the Travel Massive chat box.
Sure. Yeah, that's the way we get content is actually both of those two options that you listed, right? So the first way that we really do it is we've opened up our platform to tour guides as content creators. So we built kind of a marketplace where you can bring your own brand and your own tour guide experiences to the cities that you normally would do, and especially right now during Corona, we found that a lot of tour guides are looking for new ways of explore, of using digital content to get their tours out there. So we let them kind of create tour guide content. We edit it. We make sure that everything is okay and up to par, and then we upload it to our app. And then we have a revenue share model with them, where they make the majority of the money for their content that they sell. And then we just take a small sliver for CityGuyd. And then on the other end, we also have our own in-house studio, where we bring in actors, such as like the Abraham Lincoln tour guide that we did at the Lincoln Memorial. We kind of dressed him up, and we gave him a script to tell people about the Lincoln Memorial, and then kind of film it there. So those are the two ways we usually do it. So that's kind of how we create content.
Another question for you coming from Ian is a little bit of context. Every year, there are rumors that Apple is coming out with some kind of a killer AR product. Do you have any ideas if there is any truth to this? Is it some sort of AR glasses, a see-through iPhone, or something like that? Are you afraid?
Yes, Apple is been in the news lately that they've been secretly acquiring many small augmented reality startups. And as someone who's worked in the business and has some friends that are on the AR team at Apple, yeah, I expect them to be releasing or announcing soon an AR glasses platform that is really more consumer focused. So until now, the Magic Leap, the HoloLens have kind of been more industry kind of used at the warehouse focus. But the long-term trend, and I think Tim Cook and the rest of Apple really believe that eventually consumers will be wearing these things kind of like how we have our cell phones. And I would be very surprised if they would not be announcing very soon augmented reality glasses.
Another follow-up question came on this topic. Do you think that Apple's 30% cut from the App Store purchases are going to inhibit innovation for travel apps? Do you have a position or thoughts on where this might go?
You guys are trying to get me in trouble. Yeah, I think the 30% cut that Apple takes is a little too steep. I think there's room for reducing those prices so that innovators can really get a bigger chunk of what it is they're producing. But it is Apple's kind of has the last say there, so that's something that's going to have to play out legally. And as someone who's planning on making money, and all the travelers who are going to be working with CityGuyd will be making money from their app store, we'd hope to have a little bit better of a cut, but we'll see what happens.
We're moving the hot seat to Yasmin. You can take a breath right now. Yasmin, we have a question from Ian again. What are your strongest customer acquisition channels? Google, Payday, partners? Just can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, our first businesses, the businesses that we've signed on so far, have we've approached them. So, but they've been people who understand accessible tourism. In terms of our channels, what we've been doing is direct marketing. So I showed how we have 3 different levels of subscription. The basic being free, which is the level of listing that we put based on our tip-off. So that's publicly available information. So we directly market to all the businesses listed on our platform, explaining to them about the market and about the packages. We haven't actually gone to larger markets yet. It's been primarily through word of mouth.
Awesome. So a few of you already mentioned that a great way to just get into the industry to network, and places like Travel Massive, different conferences are a great way to do that. I don't see any other questions in the chat box, but feel free to post them there. I want to ask all 3 of you just to talk a little bit about how this pandemic affected your businesses, and just in short, tell us when did you start, the initial shock started to wear off, and then when did you start to be more motivated and to see opportunities to work a little bit more. Sania, do you want to go ahead with that?
Yeah, sure. So I think that we started noticing pretty early on when all of this started happening, just because we were facing corporate travel before. And our biggest concern as an early stage startup was making sure that we continue to stay relevant, because we don't have the luxury of time and just waiting for things to sort of work itself out. And so we immediately started going out and trying to understand how people were thinking about travel, what experts were saying about what the future of travel is going to look like, both in the short term and the long term, and then taking apart what we had built basically and trying to see what pieces we could use to adapt to what has changed. And so I'd say pretty early on, for the first few weeks in March, we started realizing this and trying to see what we could do and researching what made the most sense and making that adaptation.
Awesome, thank you. Yasmin, do you want to tell us a little bit more about your experience?
Yes, so being based in Australia, we were already in a huge tourism downturn because of last summer's bushfires. So our summer is your winter. So over December, January, February, basically the tourism industry had a huge downturn because so much of the country was burning. And the tourism industry really wasn't open to advertising as such. It was survival at that point. And we pretty much went straight from the bushfires into the pandemic, which for my business in particular actually was a bit of a boom, because suddenly the whole world went remote and everybody was struggling with how to do their businesses remotely, whereas my business had always been running remotely because people with disabilities, that's like a working arrangement. It was always at the core of our business, so we had a bit of a head start to going into the pandemic, and we very quickly went into a consolidation and using that downtime to really look at our offerings and refine them. And now, as the pandemic has been going on in Australia, it's a lot more closed in terms of tourism market than the rest of the world. I mean, you've seen in Europe a summer full of people traveling. I mean, we still have border controls between our various states. So for instance, Ian is in another part of the country, and I could not go and see him even if I wanted to. So sorry, Ian, I didn't mean to say I didn't want to see you, but so tourism is really struggling in Australia. And so what we've done is we've developed some marketing packages for businesses that are struggling. So we've offered 12 months free if you provide us the accessibility information. So part of our enhanced package is to work with a business to really develop and bring out the accessibility of their business and show it how the inherent aspects of their business could be better marketed to people with accessibility needs. Now what we're doing is if businesses provide that to us, we'll give them a 12-month free listing. So things like virtual tours, text descriptions for all their graphics or subtitles on their videos, things that save us from doing the work of making their information accessible. Yeah.
Thank you. And Nawar, can you tell us how did the pandemic affect you?
Sure. Yeah, the pandemic has really been both a blessing and a curse for us here in 2020, surprisingly. So we spent basically the better part of last year building out our technology and our app and making the initial content for it, and then our goal was to kind of publicly launch in 2020 and start advertising the app, and then that started at the beginning of this year, and then March came and everything shut down, and it was just a catastrophe for us as kind of trying to market a travel app when no one's leaving their house is just not it's not very easy to do. So there was a brief period there where we thought, this might prevent us from moving forward, because we can't seem to get any users and we can't get anyone to actually want to leave their house. And then kind of as March kind of moved on and time kind of moved on, we started seeing a lot of opportunities actually crop up. And I think that primarily happened from the idea that there's a real need right now. There's a real desire to kind of rethink the whole way the world travels. I mean, because it was so hard hit by this pandemic, people are thinking, okay, what's the way to prevent this from moving forward? What can we do now to encourage people to get out of their houses again and travel? Because there's a whole ecosystem of people that are dependent on this market. So that's kind of how we've pivoted CityGuyd as saying, what's more socially distant safe than having your tour guide right through your own phone? You don't have to be in a group tour. You don't have to get on a bus. You don't have to be with someone that you haven't met before and walk around the city. You can do it at your own time and the way you feel comfortable. So people have really been receptive to that at the moment. And, cities are looking for new ways to encourage people to visit. Organizations are looking at what the future of travel kind of looks like. And that's kind of where we've kind of really saw some opportunities for us, especially considering that our long-term goal is to really implement our app on the AR glasses as those become more adopted. So, we've always been very future focused, and I think the travel industry as a market is really resistant to change compared to some other markets. And I think the COVID crisis has really reshaken the way the whole industry needs to look at things. So there's some opportunities there.
Thank you for sharing. I will give the word to three of you to say a few just final words to the live audience. And Sanya, if you want to start, and also maybe just to include an answer to one last question, where is a good place to start to learn about AI development?
Yeah, okay, let me start with the question. So I would say for the development, if you want to actually learn the coding side of it, I would go to any of the online resources like Khan Academy or Coursera or Code Academy, I feel like if you want to actually learn development, those are really great places to start. If you want to just learn more about stories about development, I found Medium to be a really good resource to learn about how other startups have gone about their AI development and hearing their stories firsthand. And just to say, I just wanted to say thank you so much again for having me. Yasmin and Noah, it was great to have to learn more about you guys as well. And for anyone that is traveling soon or is interested in Flysafe, definitely check it out. You can just go straight to our website at flypilota.com or search Flysafe in Google, and it will show up. And if you do try it, definitely let me know your feedback. We're always looking to improve. Love to hear you guys' thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yasmin, any last words? And also, just one last question came into the chat box. Have you been working with local tourism boards? So if you can incorporate that, it will be great.
Okay, so yes, working with local tourism boards, and in fact, that goes into my final message, which is for anyone in the travel industry, just think that 20% of the population has some form of disability, mobility, hearing, vision, autism, Down syndrome, all sorts of different disabilities. And we have money to spend at businesses who cater to our needs. And slowly, destination marketing organizations are starting to realize that, and they're seeing a way of marketing their city or their region as an accessible tourist destination. So for instance, Singapore has done a fantastic job at marketing itself as an accessible destination. And, you know, it really is. And so both for the sake of your local residents who have access needs, but also in terms of recovering from the pandemic and rebuilding your tourism industry, this is a huge untapped market. So yeah, go for it. Please work with us and work with other accessible tour operators.
Thank you. Noor?
Yeah, the question is, do we work with local tourism boards? Yeah, actually, we've seen, that's another thing that we've seen come out of COVID-19 is really a more openness by some of the local tourism boards to kind of adopt new technologies like what we're bringing. And before we found it a little difficult, and now we're seeing that people are much more open to it. So I think that's another great thing. So we're kind of working in the cities of Texas and cities in Texas. We're trying to get something going with the city of Boston and more, but primarily we're focused on the U.S. at the moment, just because travel seems it's going to be domestic for the near future. Anyway.
Thank you to three of you for joining again, and thank you for everyone who was watching us live. I will say bye to Sania, Yasmin, and Noah right now, and I want to say a few last words about Travel Massive and our upcoming events. If once again you want to support this event or any other event on Travel Massive, you can do that by the donate button. Also, I want to give a shout out to a few upcoming events that are happening on the Travel Massive platform, organized by the community across the world. So on September 15, Uganda is going live with a panel discussion on the topic of restarting tourism. On September 17, our Silicon Valley Travel Massive chapter is going to talk about the importance of community in travel. On September 21, a very exciting event, we are going to announce the winners at the Social Entrepreneurship in Tourism competition. And then we also have another event on September 22nd with the European Capitals of Smart Tourism for 2020. These are Gothenburg in Sweden and Malaga in Spain. And the topic that we're going to discuss is how can smart tourism support the recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic? If you want to see all the upcoming events on Travel Massive, you can go to the event page and then you'll see what is happening and what is coming in the next few weeks. Also, if you have an event in tourism that you want to list, you can do that. From the sidebar, you will see a button, add an event. Thank you once again for watching, and see you online.